Welcome back to another edition of Publicity for Tourism. This is the free publicity tourism tutorial number 4 of 5. Today we're going to be talking about working with the media. So let's get started. Common publicity myths, things that people believe about the media that are not necessarily true. One is that you have to have existing relationships with the media before they will write a story about you. While this is helpful, it is not true. If you have a good story idea and you have approached the media in the right way, without offending them and without getting up in their face and insisting they do a story about you, you can get a story. There are ways to approach the media, but basically you do not have to have an existing relationship before they'll write a story about you. Lots of new stories come up all the time. You just have to have a compelling story. The next myth: the bigger the media, the better the results. Here in the United States, the pinnacle of media was considered to be getting on the Oprah television show when it was on network television, and still is while it's on cable television. That's a great goal, but you probably don't need it, and you're looking at the hardest possible media to get into when you're targeting something like the Oprah show, which is Oprah Winfrey for those of you not in the United States. You want to start with more local media or regional media, media that's likely to pick up your story. And if you do it right, the national media will pick up the story as well, if it's an interesting enough story for the national media, and there aren't any bigger national stories that are going to overwhelm it. Because no matter what you think, the story about your your tourism company, if some national event happens, a crisis, or the president does something, that story is going to take the lead. That's just how publicity works. And you have to take that risk with your publicity. But there are lots of media outlets that don't care what the president is doing, and you have to target them as well. The media prefers working with professional publicists. This is not necessarily true. The media will work with anyone who will give them a good story. They're always looking for good stories. A lot of times they feel that publicists are giving them canned stories just to try to sell a product. The media will work with whoever works with them. You can't get publicity if you don't advertise with them. Again, not true. Some publications will imply that that's the way it works, but if you've got a good story, they're going to run it anyway. Now, they might like you to be an advertiser, but you don't have to be. And publicity won't make you any money. Trust me, if people find out about your business through publicity, it's just as good or better than advertising. So go out there and get the publicity. And the fear factor, this is something that keeps people from contacting the media, is that they're scared. You're scared that the media don't really need you as opposed to someone else. That's not true. If your story is good, they'll use it. You're intimidated by the journalist. Now, this is an easy one because they sometimes can be intimidating. But just hold your ground, take a breath, and breathe. I will have training in the future on how to do interviews. But right now, you just answer the questions. Answer them honestly. Take half a beat to think about your answer. Don't take too long because that's not mediagenic. You need to have rehearsed before. But you know, journalists are people too. Self-promotion is arrogant. Some people think so, and in some societies, self-promotion may not be how you were raised. But in today's media world, you have to be a self-promoter. Think of Barnum and Bailey Circus. Everything he did was publicity. You need to self-promote your business if you want to get publicity and if you want to get the maximum number of guests. Another fear is that it's going to be a waste of time. It's possible, but if you have a good story idea, you will get the word out and you'll get it out to your target audience. And then the last one is, I'm not really an expert yet. Well, you have to start somewhere. and this is a good reason to start with smaller media. It's easy to be the local expert on whatever it is you're trying to get across to the media. Whereas trying to be the national expert on the Oprah show or on a national morning television program, that's a little more difficult if you don't already have the media experience. And if you have these fears about the media, that's the worst place to be. So if you start small, people will give you a little more credit just for getting on the news, if nothing else. What do you do if you get negative publicity? If for some reason the reporter or just events in general cause negative publicity about your business or your industry? Well, the first thing you have to do is act quickly. Don't sit on it. You get some major corporations that a bad story happens and they're silent for days. Don't do that. Act quickly. Put together something in a half hour or less and do whatever it is you're going to do. Assess the situation. See what it is that you have to spin or address. And spin is only if you need to take the situation and it hasn't been accurately portrayed and you need to portray it more accurately. Don't make up falsehoods. Do not lie. These are bad things to do with the media. They will find you out and expose you for it, which is where we get to admit the truth. Okay, there is a problem, Houston, to paraphrase NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. Admit the truth. Okay, there is a problem in my area. There is a problem with my business. We know what it is. It exists. Now here's what we're going to do about it. Make the amends. Here are all the proactive steps we're taking to make sure that whatever was happening, we're going to make it right for you. If you do this, you will look so much better than everybody else out there who's just making excuses or burying their heads in the sand trying to figure out what they're going to do. And whether it's your business, if you had a situation happen, or whether it's your area, let's say the oil spill in the Gulf region of the United States where all the beach resorts had to figure out, what are we going to do? Nobody's going to come to the beach. You need to come up with a plan. And a plan could have been made to recover a lot of that business. Okay. To get more attention from the press and to look more professional for the press, you need to have a press page on your website somewhere. Little link at the bottom, something where the press, when they come to your website, they know where to go for them. Not for your guests, not for your potential guests, not for people who are interested in your niche if you are doing an authority marketing niche. And I talk more about that at the International Travel and Tourism Marketing Association, how to come up with one. But anyway, for another time, you need a press page. Your press page should have things like these: a biography of yourself, photos of you and your company, whether it's a physical company or whether it's some sort of event or travel company, photos of things that relate to your company. Make them actual photos, not stock photos. A series of interview topics. What would the press be interested in asking you about? If they find you, maybe they don't have a story right off the bat, but here are some interesting things. We do this, and we do it differently than other tour companies of our type. Frequently asked questions or questions to guide a reporter. These are not just topics, but the actual questions they should be asking. So if they want to do a canned interview, and canned means pre-prepared, then they can ask you these exact questions, and you already have the answers. If you have prior media coverage or you have press releases you've put out, you can post them here. Post them in Adobe Acrobat or PDF format, and the press will see them. If you have coverage, it helps you get more coverage. Doesn't mean you have to have coverage. You can start with nothing, and there are a few ways to sort of fake the coverage if you need to. Same thing with video reels. If you have video coverage, whether it's actual interviews or just video of your business, put them here or put links to them here. You can put those videos on sites like YouTube and then embed the link on your website so that they're easy to find. And then put contact information, email, phone number of the person you want the media to contact, whether that's you, the owner, or whether you have a designated media person. Put that contact information and put the direct information if you have it. Don't let the media go through your switchboard and get bounced around before they get to the actual person they need to talk to. This is the one place where you need to have the direct line posted. All right, you have to prepare for the interviews. A little bit about this. Reporters are going to ask you a lot of questions. Here are some samples. How did you come up with the idea for whatever it is you're doing? What's the biggest challenge you've had to face, or what was something you didn't realize you would experience after jumping into this business? Tell them a little bit about the challenges you've had. Tell them, the hurdles you had to jump, what you had to face. They like stories of overcoming things. What advice would you give someone wanting to start their own business, or what lessons have you learned in starting this one? Again, it's the story of going from nothing to something. These are all the human interest stories that the media is looking for. How are you financed? Did you bootstrap? Or do you have investors? Sometimes that makes a good money story for the financial section of whatever media organization it is. Who are your competitors? And what makes you different from them? What makes your product or service different? What's next? What are you planning? And you don't have to give away any trade secrets. If you've got something super secret coming up, you can kind of imply that you've got something super secret coming up, but don't give away something that's going to let your competitors get the jump on you or get ahead of you in the marketplace. But give ideas that you have some big things coming up. And then what kind of customer base do you have? What kind of money do you make? Again, the financial sections of media organizations will like these types of stories. And then you need to figure out the reporters too. So you might need to ask a reporter who is either contacted you or you're trying to contact. Who do you write for? What media organization are you working with? What types of articles do you write? So you can tailor your story to their particular type of publication. What story are you working on now? If you are not the right person for the story, the correct person, because the story is not going to help you or not going to match up with what your business is doing, thank them but walk away. If you know someone else they can talk to, send them in that direction. Trust me, you do a favor for a reporter by sending them to another good source, they will repay you in kind later by interviewing you when you need it. But don't do a story just to do a story if you cannot contribute anything to that story. Ask them when their deadline is. You have to get the interview done or get the information to them in plenty of time so they're not rushing. Reporters are always rushing. Make their job easy and they will help you out. Ask them if they're contacting other companies. If they are, it's part of a bigger story, or your story has to be better than the other guy's story. Again, don't lie, don't embellish, but have a good story, good human interest story. Maybe they'll use yours, maybe they'll use the others, but you have to have a good story. Ask them if they'd like a sample. Hey, would you like to come by? Would you like to go on a tour? Would you like to see some of my rooms? Would you like dinner at my restaurant? Don't make it sound like a quid pro quo. Hey, if we give you something for free, you'll run a story on us. This is more a backstage tour so they can see how things actually work. If they politely refuse, that's fine. Offer to give them the backstage tour that wouldn't be something that seems like a gift, where it would be something they would have to pay for. Take them along to show them how it works. Would you like customer references? If they'd like to, have some customers they can talk to. That's always good. Ask them what trends or issues they see in this segment. See if that matches up with what you're seeing. Offer some trends that you're seeing that they're not seeing. That's always a good way to get into a story. Ask them how they heard about your company. How did you find out about us? Because that's probably the way that your potential target market is finding out about you as well. That helps you in all sorts of ways, but it also helps you to know how to get more media attention. And then ask them, when's the story scheduled to run? You want to be able to record it or take a clipping from the magazine or newspaper. Don't bother them to send you the story. You need to go out and proactively get a copy of the story yourself, if you can. If they offer to send you one, take them up on their offer, but don't make their job harder by asking them to do you a favor by sending you the story. Then you need to follow up. Once you've had a little bit of press or you've sent out a press pitch, you need to follow up with the media. If you're following up by email, use their name in the subject line. People like to see their own name. That's a given. Indicate that you sent the pitch and recap it if you need to. Hey, remember the pitch I sent you about XYZ? Or just send it over again so that they see it. And just a little follow-up. Hey, here's the pitch I sent you last week. Just wanted to make sure you got it, seeing if you were interested in using this for a story. If you call them by phone, remember, reporters are very busy. So you've got to tread a little lightly if you're contacting them by phone. If you actually get them on the phone, be brief, be quick, be to the point. Don't be apologetic. You're there to help them as well as them helping you. Think of objections if they have them. I don't want to run your story because. Try to get around that, but don't be too pushy. If you're too pushy, this reporter will never do business with you again. You need to put yourself in their shoes and understand that they're super busy people. Your story idea might not fit with what they need right now, and right now is the only thing the reporter is thinking about. Give them another 10 to 15 second pitch. I am Bob Smith. I've got a story about XYZ, and your readers are going to be interested because of blank. That's all you need to do. Don't go too far into it. You just want to tease them and pique their interest. You don't want to bug them or give them the whole story. They don't have the time for it right now. You just want to see if it's something they're interested in. Okay. I'm giving you a lot of free information. We've got one more segment in this publicity course. Please go back and check the other 3 before this, as well as this one, and leave comments. Ask questions. Feel free. I will respond to you. But if you are going to need more, a total in-depth look at how to get publicity for your tourism business, I do have a Publicity for Tourism course. It's going to be ever expanding. The earlier you get in, the better the price will be, and you have lifetime access as I add more and more to this course. That can be found at publicityfortourism.com. And as I was mentioning earlier in this particular lesson, I do have lots of information over at ittma.com, which is the International Travel and Tourism Marketing Association, where there are lots of free lessons. It is a free membership. Not everything on the site is free, but you can get a ton of free information there about how to build authority for your business and how to do all different kinds of marketing for your tourism business. I want you to get the best marketing information that you can without having to spend a fortune for it. So visit us over there at ittma.com. Again, I'm Michael Mallory, and thank you for listening.